I want to thank the previous speakers, the panelists. Well, first of all, to you, Jack and Chit, for doing so much work in making sure the book of Bobby Tanyada gets published. But thanks a lot to Roland. Very relevant thoughts shared. To Senator Kiko, who reminded us that the more things change, the more things remain the same. Marites rocks, what she said today was rock solid. And then to Rene, my Dean O, that was fantastic, to make sure that what you worked with Senator Bobby Tanyada in the past remains relevant to this day. And most especially, I want to thank Bobby Tanyada, not only for the book, but I was so touched, I was so moved by the eloquent posture he took when he defended, and voted on his sponsored legislation that led to the withdrawal of the U.S. bases. I was moved to tears listening to that speech, which I personally witnessed inside the halls of the Senate some 31 years or some 30 years ago. It was June, I believe, of 1991. And that was really amazing. And I want to thank my friend Bobby for being steadfast in that struggle. My brief remarks, I would like to entitle Reimagining Resistance. Because together with Rene and all the others, I believe that the ideas advocated by Bobby remain relevant today. And overall, we have to reimagine resistance, which in fact is also the title of a series of letters which Bobby and I put together with his two of his grandchildren, to show you that this struggle continues. As some of the liberation, the struggles for liberation in the third world used to say, la lotta continua, la victoria è certa. In Portuguese, during the struggles against Portuguese colonialism in Africa, the struggle continues and the victory is certain. So what I want to say is that in this book, Bobby Tanyada bears witness to the struggle for a more sovereign Filipino nation. And he gives testimony not only in words that you can find in the book, through his speeches, but also in deeds throughout his life. What is truly amazing is that Bobby Tanyada combines the passion of his words with the passion of his life, his advocacy. And therefore, so that I can make myself really brief, and try to end before noontime. Yeah, there are just three images, a few stories to illustrate what I am trying to say, what Bobby stood for, what he gave witness with his words and with his life, to three struggles: the struggle for sovereignty, the protection of human rights, and finally, the pursuit of peace. This is what I want to kind of encapsulate in this next few minutes. I remember the most moving scene in the plenary halls of the Senate during the final vote, on the U.S. bases, on the withdrawal of the U.S. bases, was when soon after Bobby delivered, his speech. In fact, I was, I remembered so many things because I saw all the people whom I knew, inside that hall. And then later on, we moved outside in the rain, I recall. And I think, Jack, you were there outside the rain, when we had this rally, to celebrate, what was, not the culmination of a struggle, but the beginning of a new one. And The most moving scene was when Bobby went to his father, Katani, to make mano and say, mission accomplished. In a sense, that was his father's mission. That was Katani's obsession. And what a sight it was, because, Bobby, together with his colleagues in the Senate, led by Jovi Salonga, they were able to deliver to the Philippine nation, after nearly a century, finally, a territory without foreign military bases. And this was, this was a real victory. Just to give you a footnote, a very minor story. Actually, during that entire period, I was watching. I was in the gallery, and at one time, I recall, I was being asked to leave the Senate because I quite reacted, to one of the senators making a comparison with some of our nationalist leaders like Pepe Diokno. And I recall I was being asked to leave, and then Bobby interjected and he said, "Let's call a timeout." And so I had to go to the floor, and I was saved by the bells, and it was Bobby Tanyada who saved me. Anyway, that was, the struggle for sovereignty continues in the West Philippine Sea. It continues in our foreign policy. It continues today. It continues today. But the courage of Bobby Tanyada reminds us that we can move mountains, we can mobilize people, we can organize our citizens, and we can win even against a superpower. And that was what Bobby Tanyada proved, in the struggle for sovereignty. In the protection of human rights, I got to know Bobby Tanyada much better during the Lakbayan. I recall we marched for 7 days from San Pablo all the way to Luneta, and that was an amazing experience. With so many of other patriots. Marching from town to town. Raising people's consciousness about the importance of people's rights, about the importance of human rights. And we were willing to take risks. And then later on, at the Welcome Rotonda, I think all of you, know this famous iconic photos, and there is Katani, and there is his son Bobby, and they were taking risks, paying a price, because the rights of people to assemble, to free speech, to protest, are rights which are important. And today, it is still being violated. They harass Rappler, Maria Ressa. They close down ABS-CBN. They kill human rights defenders. They kill people. And we have a president whose favorite word is kill. This is amazing. And I think the struggle for human rights continues, till this day. And we are grateful to Bobby, because when he was in the Senate and Congress, he led in the documentation, in providing evidence, which even now the Commission on Human Rights, which needs to be protected, is trying to do to ensure that our human rights, in spite of the difficulties of the situation, they prevail, because human rights are very important and they really are essential. And then finally, the pursuit of peace. Bobby Tanyada was a companion, in many efforts to bring about a peace that is so elusive, that is up to now even so distant. And I tell you one story. During the meeting between the multi-sectoral peace advocates, which Bobby was part of, with the government, at that time, the Secretary of Defense was Renato Davila. And then Bobby was articulating some of the issues we felt were important, to ensure that the peace is just, that the peace we pursued also protected human rights and promoted social justice. And so uh, Secretary Renato de Villa looked at Bobby in the eye and he said to him, Senator, on whose side are you on? He expected that the senator, because he was a member of government as a senator of the Republic of the Philippines, would not be, with the multisectoral peace advocates on the other side of the table. And so Bobby Tanyada, without blinking an eye, looks him straight in the face and then says to him, Secretary, I'm on the side of the people. That for me illustrates, the posture that Bobby has taken all throughout his life. And then we were together in so many waging peace conference every single year in the 90s and the 2000s. He was always, there supporting the peace advocates from the citizens. And then in the peace missions that we undertook to go to Utrecht to face, at that time, Joma Sison, Louis Halandoni, Fidel Agkawili, Bobby was always there. And I cannot forget, Bobby had his sense of humor. He faced the late Fidel Agkawili. I think you all remember Fidel. And then Bobby said to him, Fidel, we should forge peace. This is important. It's urgent. It's imperative. So tumingin sa kanya si Fidel. I remember this very, and then Bobby beginning to have this serious face, which later on transforms into a mischievous smile. And he says, Fidel, I am a dying man. And then Fidel said, hey, what do you mean? He said, I dye my hair, I dye my. So in a very serious situation, Bobby retained his sense of humor. And, finally, I wanted to end with what's reminding us all, even today, Bobby remains engaged. He is involved. Just short while ago, we put together a series of letters which we entitled precisely Reinventing Resistance. Reinventing Resistance. A series of 3 letters which were all published, advocating that we pursue peace from the ground up, that our people, in their hearts, in their thoughts, in their words, and that in their actions, bring about the kind of peace that we want in this country, that is just and inclusive, without having to depend on the 2 panels who never seem to be able to put things together. And so that we put that together, I think something like 14 pages, because at the end, which is very significant, 2 of Bobby's grandchildren, si Paulo Tanyada Palanca, at saka si Gabi Tanyada, the daughter of Toby, then put their own thoughts together to contribute. So here you have, as was said earlier, you have one generation Katani, another generation Ka Bobby, another generation, Erin and Toby, Marites and Trina, and then finally a new generation of Tanyadas, because they are the successor generation, and all the young people, all the young people who need to put their hands to the plow, because this, building a nation requires a marathon mentality. And so, the young, Bobby is 86, I'm 77. It's the young, I think the Bee Gees, or was it the Beatles who sang that song, the young, follow the sun, it's the young, it's your moment, it's your time, it's your struggle. So thank you, Bobby. Maraming salamat, Bobby.